infringements, 1 minute to warm up lap. Oh, you've got to scoop down there with a conversation. You got your mics on, Scoop. I do love working with a professional. Let's go with this green flag lap then, ladies and gents, and then they come back. 16 laps it will be. Just waiting for so many people on the grid that's taking a little bit of time to skip through that one exit gateway down there. But I remind you of the front row of the grid. And are we looking at, well, segment 1, Richard Cooper, Taylor Mackenzie, Lee Jackson. I fancy there Alex Olsen. How wonderful to be Luke Jones could get up on the podium then, and also Ben Godfrey. But really, Cooper, Mackenzie, Jackson, I think, and Alex Olsen, that they are the picks of the potential probably at the end of segment 1. If they can do that, then they get to segment 2.
The Pirelli National Superstock Championship in association with Black Horse. This is the first race at the Brands Hatch Grand Prix course. Richard Cooper currently leading the championship chase by a clear 28 points from Alex Olsen. Taylor Mackenzie, who's qualified on the front row of the grid, lies third for the Batham's BMW team ahead of Lewis Rollo, surprise winner at Donington Park. Lee Bob Jackson in 5th place and Emily Larty on the Stouff Connect Academy bike in 6th. Let's check out the starting grid then overall, with pole position going to championship leader Richard Cooper on build-based Suzuki. Taylor Mackenzie on the Batham's BMW in 2nd place. Lee Jackson, FS3 Kawasaki in 3rd. Half a second down on Cooper's lightning lap. Alex Olsen is in 4th place, heads up row 2. From Luke Jones, good to see Jones and that big twin Ducati up there in 5th place ahead of Ben Godfrey. Luke Hedger fronts row 3. And Joe Collier, who's been having a rather torrid time on the CBD Kawasaki up until now, has qualified 8th ahead of the Flying Finn on his Kawasaki. Tom Ward in 10th place. Lewis Rollo on the Aprilia in 8th place ahead of Leon Cheecock's Suzuki. So Richard Cooper then, the man who is, how can we put this, the playmate of Kyle Ryde and Lee Jackson when they're out doing their training sessions during the week. And also, of course, they go about mucking about on pit bikes a good deal, as well as motocrossers on their weekends off. They're ready to go then in this, the 1000cc Superstock race. 16 laps ahead of them round the full Brands Hatch Grand Prix track. Perfect conditions, James.
Yeah, absolutely. A little bit breezy, to be honest, but that won't bother them. Track conditions absolutely perfect. The track is actually a little bit green just because of the weather conditions we've had. We've had a lot of rain and there's no groove built up as such, so don't expect times to be silly just yet. In this kind of early in the weekend or early in track action, you need a little bit more rubber on the circuit just to give them the grip they need for the really quick times.
So the man with the red flag departs then, and we're ready to go then. 16 laps ahead of these boys. The flyweight 9 stone dripping wet Cooper usually gets a good start, and he does so, but T-Mac goes with him, and look at Lee Jackson, another of the lightweight boys, goes through on the inside on the FS3 Kawasaki. And as they go off up towards Druitt then, Cooper leads the way already. Mackenzie having a peep underneath on that red, black and gold BMW. Let's check a packed field safely through Druitt. Everyone looks intact.
Yeah, always good to see a grid this full get round Druitt on the first lap without some shenanigans.
That's a brilliant start by Emily Larty, the Finnish boy. He's come through to about 5th place from the 3rd row of the grid.
Yeah, he's on the bright yellow and green bike, you'll see that.
And as they come out of Surtees then and up to the fastest spot of the course, down Pilgrim's Drop, up towards 170 miles per hour before breaking into the mighty Hawthorns Bend. And Lee Jackson just thinking about nosing underneath his pal Richard Cooper.
You just sometimes think with Lee Bob, he's a little bit too polite sometimes.
He is, isn't he? But he's like that as a lad,
He is, yeah, of course he is, a lovely lad, yeah.
So as they go scorching through Sheen then, these are the front 4 already making just a little bit of a breakaway here.
Yep, Sterling's lovely bend, lots of camber, drops off a little bit on the way out. You have to be a little bit careful this early in the race. I mean, these tyres will be pretty much up to temperature, but remember, it's your first proper left-hander, is that?
Lee Jackson, that familiar, the mystifying rise of the left foot off the foot peg as he keels through the right-hander. And here they are down what laughingly called the Brabham Straight, dropping down over that precipitous Paddock Hill bend, then up Halewoods into Druids, and the front four have definitely moved clear as we see a change in position as is that Rollo? Rollo's up in fourth place. That's Hedger who's cut through ahead of Larty.
It is Hedger.
Lewis Rollo is really getting that Aprilia on song, isn't he?
Lewis Rollo had gone in a bit quicker. That affected his line coming out, and Jackson managed to square it off and get the power down a little bit better and get to the line. There's nothing in between them bikes, because we've seen that in previous laps. That was a little bit of kind of racecraft from Jackson, and a little bit of a go from Cooper, which you can understand.
So Lee Jackson then takes his first victory since Thruxton last season in the Pirelli National Superstock 1000cc Championship for FS3 Racing Kawasaki. Brilliant result for them, and a great look at that. Just hoist the odd wheelie, boys. Some of them sit down, some of them stand up. This is Leon Geacock, thankfully on his feet, but looking, shall we say, a little bit detuned by a high speed off there. And you can see Tim Neve waiting and explaining to him what's happened. So I don't know whether. Oh, hang on. This might show us what happened. Oh.
Geacock loses the front over the bump, and then Tim Neve just kind of that was Tim just kind of getting. Yeah, you get sort of target fixation. That can really easily happen, you know. You see, and you're such a fine balance on leaning the bike over and getting your brakes on there that it doesn't take much.
So a huge disappointment then for those two on the final bend, but for the FS3 Kawasaki boys, a brilliant result. That's their first victory of this season, and a great ride then by Lee Jackson. Congratulations to him from the Build-Based Suzuki squad. Taylor Mackenzie, all three of these lads will have really enjoyed that race. That was proper hook, line and sinker job. Great work. I love Cooper's always had this kind of brickwork or wooden helmet, hasn't he?
Yeah, but it's Lee Bob's uncle who mechanics for Cooper.
Yes, it is. Yes, Uncle Lee there on the right-hand side, working for Build-Based Suzuki, talking to his nephew, also called Lee, and also, of course, a former National Superstock champion, 1000 champion.
Yeah, he was on a Yamaha, I believe.
What a brilliant result, a brilliant ride, and a brilliant final bend there then from Lee Jackson. Grabs victory for FS3 Racing Kawasaki from Richard Cooper, Built-Based Suzuki. Taylor Mackenzie, Batham's BMW. Great ride by Ben Godfrey on Suzuki in fourth place. Levi Days Aprilia gets the better of teammate Lewis Rollo, but a good result for Ian Specky Newton with those two at fifth and sixth. Andy Reid gets Tyco BMW into his best result of the season in seventh, ahead of Tom Ward, Bjorn Estment and Rob McNeely gets a great result in 10th place on that blood orange bike. With Tom Tunstall, my goodness me, Tom will be very upbeat with his press release next week. Braden Elliott, the Australian, is 12th. Dan Stamper, former 600 Superstock champ.
I'll ring 13th. The Huddersfield Examiner and warn them that Tom will be on the phone Monday.
James Henry in 14th, and Joe Sheldon Shaw, a new recruit from Superstock 600. From last year's runner-up, gets 15th place and the final point ahead of Milo Ward, James White, Barry Teasdale, Kevin Sylvain from Keddington, just east of Cambridge. We looked that up. And poor Leon Geacock is credited 20th place as he's helped off to the ambulance. So they're in front of our comedy positions in one of those, the left hand of those what look rather like greenhouses on top of the main grandstand there. Richard Cooper now has a 43.5 second lead, 43.5 point lead over Taylor Mackenzie, who has moved past Alex Olsen into second place. Lee Jackson closes up on Olsen, 83 points now, and moves away from Lewis Rollo. Emily Latte remains stranded on 50.5 in sixth. Tom Neve remains on 41.5. Luke Hedger remains on 38.5. So the only man to score points there, moving into ninth place, Levi Day, ahead of Chrissy Rouse, who's sadly not with us this weekend. 11th place, also not with us this weekend, Billy McConnell. Ben Godfrey moves up to 20.5 points after that fine fourth place, ahead of Reid, Ward, Collier, Jones, Neve, Rutter and Milo Ward.
showroom or visit us online at kawasaki.co.uk. Trust funds up and down the paddock. This year, the British company are celebrating 20 years of protecting racers and road riders alike. With thousands of applications for hundreds of bikes, R&D range full protection items such as air raid crash protectors and ACS covers, right through to styling accessories such as tail ties. Visit R&G's Race Support in the paddock to find out more, or check out rg-racing.com to find all the applications for your bike. And just remember, no matter what you ride, be sure to be essential. Funded by Kawasaki K-Options, this is BSB Radio Live from the British Superbike Championships on 87.7 FM and at BritishSuperbike.com.
With the first of the many podiums here at Ramshack for the Big Bang match this weekend. And the Super Stockers, we've got them up here, the top three, to make the first of the podium presentation. So as we normally do, in BSB order, in first position for Benton's BMW, with a 17 Super Stock podium for Taylor Mackenzie. Second position, 35 times now on a Super Stock podium. A nice podium over here for Bill Suzuki and Richard Cooper.
Following on that victory at Dragon Park last August, it's the first win of the season for SS3 Kawasaki's Lee Bob Jackson. Tom Brown will collect the team award on behalf of the Nigel Stoke and Darren Fly squad. And Harley Stevens, the legend who lives 5 minutes up the road, he's managed to drag him along here to represent Pirelli to make the presentation. To the third place rider, T-Mac for Bethans BMW, fifth podium of 2019 for Taylor Mackenzie. Richard Cooper, championship leader, a 100% record, 9 races, 9 podiums for the Bill Bay Suzuki rider. And for Lee Jackson, that first win, a third Superstock 1000 career win. And as we said, the first since Cadwell Park last August, where in front of 50,000 people, he stood on top of the podium.
At Cadwell, Tom Brown collects that team award on behalf of the FS3 racing team, and thanks to Harley Stevens.